Hi everybody, Brian here for quantlabs.net. Okay, so more tutorials. We're going to talk about what I used to call the big ass trading report. It's big. It's quite lengthy. I run it every 3 hours. So for the analytics crypto, come into your quant analytics dashboard. Just press that, and then you can come into here into this cryptocurrency analysis systematically generated, or you can just come under here under Bitcoin cryptocurrency. So let me just do that. So this is again run every 3 hours. So this is more for a variety of reasons for long term. So the name of the report, you can just do this, is just do a search for crypto trading report, and it's quite detailed. So today is October 10th. So that's what we have here in the time it was generated. So it's not November 10th, it's October 10th, or sorry, October 11th, the European format of the dates. Okay, so let's have some fun with this. So here's the file. You just click that, and the file's pretty big. That's 1 meg. So it's think of it as Christmas. There's a variety of files in here that you will get. You have a document, Word document file. You have a crypto rank file, which is Excel. So let's go through this first. This is pretty huge. We've got, it used to be over 300 cryptocurrency pairs, but I've whittled it down to, how many we got? 40? 48, 46. These are the largest 46 pairs, or pairs found on Binance, and they're really 30. And I'm usually comparing whatever coin against Ethereum and the same equivalent against Bitcoin. So that's what I'm doing here. I used to do BNB, Binance coin as well, but I just found there's not a lot of volume to really play around with. So what we have here is these are the latest times. This is a daily analysis, so it's long term. That's what the 1D stands for, time frame, 1D. We have a fib value, which is, I'll show you in the charts when we go through the Word documents. Are they within value of these pairs? So are they valuable historically? Obviously, we have also a buy signal column. Right now, if you looked at my database, you won't be able to get this, obviously, publicly, but we are in a pretty severe market right now where the markets are severely down. You can see here by negative moves over the last 3 hours, price change. So there's going to be no buy signals at all. We can do sell signals, but understand that Binance is long only, so you can't do any selling or shorting, but it's there. But you can see here, it's still generated this one here, so that might be useful if you trade on other exchanges. Next column is the head and shoulder difference. That means if it's been generated or not. I'll show you that in the report. That's the automated head and shoulder. The trend difference. This is the general trend of the pricing, and again, this is a daily time frame that we're using. Here's the volume. This is really important to understand. What are the cryptocurrency pairs trading at volume-wise over a 24-hour period? And you can always remember you can sort all of these, the spreadsheet to your content to see which is important to you. I will say that volume is a very important factor when it comes to trading. Also, we have momentum for the daily. So momentum is considered from a statistical point of view the up and down moves over certain time periods. So the higher your momentum, the higher probability you have on a trade that will go in your favor, like this one at 190, which is ZRX. Let me just see how ZRX is doing. Is it on the watch list? But it's been removed. Anyways, so there's that. QTOM. Yeah, let's say this one, ADA. but it wasn't on the watch list. Anyways, so we have momentum. We have standard deviation of that. It's all statistical information. Harmonic patterns here for bullish and bearish. We'll show that in the reports. There's none at all, but I'll show you them in the reports anyways, in the Word documents. This is the slope of the pricing action, R value, P value, standard error, if you're interested from a statistical standpoint. Closing price, that's the last hourly closing price on the daily. Then we have a few trend momentums here. It's from a different library outside of TA Lib, and that's the trend. And then we also have different measurements of momentum as well. Not as important, but momentum is I'd say the three most important I find are volume and slope and momentum trend. They're kind of different, but depending upon the library, they can be considered the same, depending upon the software library you're using to calculate those. Okay, let's go have some fun and look at the reports. All right, so you can see here we have a variety of different reports. Some of them are based upon long. So if we did have a capability of longing and shorting, so we have long reports, and then if we want to short potentially on Binance, this is a report. A lot of times this will not generate data, but because we're in a negative, maybe there is a shorting opportunity. I think there was one that we caught. So let's see what that is. So this is a crypto analysis for shorts. So the one to short was Steam, BTC. I'll go into these in detail because we only have one crypto pair. You can clearly see the charts can be very useful. It's about, I think, 11 different indicators used to go through this. So I'll go through that in another report for the longs. Okay, so going back to here, as I said, we have the spreadsheet here. The ranking, the spreadsheet I just showed you. Now we have different longing, different reports. So we sort based upon volume. We can sort based upon trend. This one's blank. This one's blank as well. I could tell because it's only 37K. So let me just show you this one if it was to generate enough data. So you can see it's clearly blank, nothing there. All right, so let's look at one that did generate some data here. Okay, so this one is filtered. So we have one that's supposed to be filtered on trend. I can show you another one back in September because today is October 11th. So here again, blank. All right, so let's check the one that did generate some data. It won't be a lot. So this one here called filtered on volume. So again, as I said, it's sorted by volume. And let's get into the nitty-gritty of this. If there's a lot of profit potential, this can be a very long list among the buy signals. It could be 10, 20, and it can get pretty involved. All right, so let's check it out. So this is obviously the time generated at this time, 11:48 a.m. On October 11th. Here's the buy signals. Now, again, this is all based upon what's on my watch list. So this was generated just before it cleared out all the other pairs that you see in this report. So what we have here is we have ADA, which is Cardano, Sia coin, which can do quite well, and XRP, which I believe is Ripple. So this is how it works. And this is really important for metrics. We can gather. Now, here's the other thing. These are for crypto pairs that are over 40 million for, I believe, the day or the month. But it will only go after the more liquid crypto pairs. So here we have the group mean. So it takes the average of these performance on volume, and it measures the overall group mean of volume. This one is volatility, how extreme the swings are in terms of volatility. So we can use, there's an individual one, and you can always compare it against the group. So for instance here, XRP, BTC, and this is in order of potential. So here we can clearly see that the standard deviation, which is another statistical way of saying volatility, is higher than the group volatility. The mean, or sorry, the volume is pretty strong comparative to the group volume. So you can always do that. So here we talk about the Fibonacci's. Now I haven't really talked about this a whole lot, but in this case, there are no actually. So the other thing we can look for is our Fibonacci is a pricing action daily within our golden range on the Fibonacci. I'll show you that in a minute if you don't know what it is. So yeah, it is within the optimal time to potentially buy. That's one of the factors I use to sort the overall group by whichever pair works best. And if you've seen the intro to my latest course, this can work really well within a few days. I'm looking for patterns that will show the potential in these reports. Maybe in a day or two, they'll get some big moves. So this one looks like it's going to have a big move in the next few days. And you can usually tell, obviously, right here. The moves have been pretty good. Lots of good volume. But we have here a buy and a sell signal based upon the averages. Now, this is what a lot of professionals will use, are the SMA 5-day and 20-day as well. And you should be able to find later on the EMA as well. So this is simple moving average, 5-day, 20-day on the simple moving average. So there is a sell signal lately. And you can see with sell signal, boom. And the nice thing with this particular chart, there's not a lot of these false positives. If there's a buy signal, chances are it's going to kind of work. As you can see here, that's an amazing move. That just recently in a down market, that's a pretty good move on XRP. But here's the problem. Overall longer term trend still down, but when you look at these factors, the trend is starting to flatten out. It's not as extreme as it was down a few months ago. So it's flattening out, which is a good sign on the long term, meaning that this could start to move up on a long-term trend. Here are the Fibonacci levels that I've talked about on the daily. These are really tight. There's 5 levels here. Hopefully I can show you some other ones, but it's very tight. But it is still on a trend basis, still pretty low. Here, these numbers represent potential times to get in entry. I'll be working on these to improve this. This is what some professionals use. Technicians or technical analysis experts will use on these levels for entries. Right now, I do report them, but I don't use them just to confirm potential times of entry and exit. Just alone on Fibonacci, they can be that good. And let me repeat, can be potentially can be good. Now, here's another one that's very important. The returns, these are daily returns. So statistically, you can see somewhat it's skewing to the right on positive returns, which is good. Obviously, you want to get those nice moves here, more on the fat tails, on the right fat tails, that is, because we're seeing those, and my system's able to pick them up. So once again, here we have the trend level. Again, these numbers mean the same thing. Everything in touches on lines is usually in 3s. I can't say that, but these timestamps are Unix based, so I have to change those as well. Again, I have to change these as well on the from the Unix timestamps to actual human readable dates. But at the end of the day, this is what's important. These trend lines get generated over a certain point in time. Sometimes they work, sometimes they don't. Maybe you might see some examples of that. But these are a typical wedge, and you can see here the first wedge broke, the second wedge broke. But here, if this trend continues and it comes up, you can use this lower trend line as the entry, and trend-wise, you could maybe use this upper trend if it continues to form like this as the exit. Just another example of what some people will use. And again, on the Fibonacci here on the different levels, usually you want to be right in here historically to get in on that. So here would have been good entries, but I didn't quite make and push it up on a long-term basis. So we are now looking at the moving averages. Again, the look back I use is very important. These are days. Look back is like a window, rolling window maybe, but it's 180 days. This is a 6-month chart. You can see here, we again now are using the SMAs, really important. Again, what pros use, SMA 20 days, 50 days, and the 200, and the Bollinger's in there as well. So here's the measurement of the volume. That's the latest price. So if you have watched my new course I've got on the strategy I'm using, you'll clearly see why I use both momentum and RSI. I've used a lot of different indicators. These are the only ones that work in real time. A lot of them are lagging, but you can clearly see why I use RSI and momentum. And these moves with XRP are quite brilliant. You can see here that the RSI is just picking up, and you can see why at the level 70 I use that as a classic entry to buy into that spike and hopefully ride it out. My system did ride it out, but there's just a lot of choppiness there, so it did lose money. And that's why I've tightened up the losses to prevent that from happening. Because even though if I was trading on a daily only, I probably made a lot of money here. But I know this kind of move is pretty rare in the world of cryptocurrency. But a lot of the opportunities are intraday. So hopefully you've been seeing my P&L. Let me just run this right now, see where we're at. This is where we're at today, obviously, but here we're getting these kind of small, like not big, like huge moves, 4.9 and 2.3% moves on those entries. Those are really good. But at the same time, I've now gotten it worked out where it will not take the loss minus the commission from Binance. So that's where we're at now. And all the time I'm watching for those major, what I could consider major losses, to patch those holes, because they end up being basically bugs. All right, so here in the RSI, you can clearly see on the upswing right up to here, and then the downswing as well, which brings you back down. And there's a little spike a few days ago. So these are good to watch on a 6-month basis. You can clearly see on the SMA these average kind of work, but the problem with averages I'm finding is right here. If you look at that as an entry, you may consider that a selling, but where's the buying opportunity there in this cross? It doesn't exist. So I don't really like using moving averages anymore. I did for a while to confirm things, but they're too lagging. Well, at least on these time periods I'm using, but that's what industry uses. So here again, you can see momentum's trailing up with the RSI as well, and it's pretty extreme when you look at it. All right, so now we're looking at a closer on the 90-day move right here. Boom, boom, boom. But right here on these daily moves, this is where my system, I think I might have a smaller time frame. But yeah, I did notice these, but it did lose. So we may be lining up for another big move, as this is my number one on the report. All right, so here we have a 30-day move. This is where you get to slowly see the candles, if there are any. Again, we have the Bollinger Band, but here's the problem with the Bollinger is it squeezes out, as you can see. Where does it go from there? I just don't know if Bollingers are as reliable as the RSI. And quite simply, the RSI seems to work really, really well. As I said, it's really responsive. It doesn't lag. But here's an example. The Bollinger can be, I don't know if it can be questioned or not, but I just wouldn't put as much emphasis as I would on this or the momentum. Okay, because you can clearly see on the 30-day on this move. All right, so we don't have any harmonics patterns or head and shoulders, or even candlesticks in this. So I'm a little suspect because of that. Those are really nice indicators as well to really firm up your theory on the moves and the forecasting of XRP against BTC. Looks good, but might not be doesn't have the conviction as if there were other reports. So hopefully we'll see that in another report somewhere. So here we are with ADA Cardano. Again, you can always compare the volatility and the volume against the group. What I can say about Cardano, because it's more than the group, the dangerous part of these type of cryptos where the volatility is higher than the group, what you'll find is that means you can put on a position and you have a much higher probability of getting negative moves. Thus, I created this report right here. If you go to the bottom, you'll see the ones that have all these negative moves that have been removed from my watch list because of these negative moves. This one right here, because I removed it and it's on my list here of negative movers, it's been removed because, and it's probably going to save me a ton of money. Let me just verify that. So let me see if ONT Ethereum's on this as an example. See, we made money on EOS, but we don't see EOS on this list, which shows this EOS had a nice positive momentum for a while, 3 hours, let's say. We took a position, passed all the criteria, took on the position, and boom, we got a nice positive 2.3% move. But here's some of the patterns I will notice. ICX Ethereum was removed earlier today at 11:44 because of negative moves. So you can clearly see if I did take on that position, didn't have the tight not stop loss, I'll call it virtual stop loss, but a way to ex-nay that trade and ex-nay it no loss. But because it's on this list, I'm watching to see if I want to even take on that trade if it ends up on this list, because you can clearly see here that EOS was not on the list of the negative movers, and we have an EOS here, but that was yesterday. Actually, that was earlier today, but this position was yesterday. So I don't have any EOS. 2109 BTC. So that was EOS Ethereum, but this is EOS BTC. So anyways, these are trends that I look for, and they seem to work pretty good. So anyways, back to the report. Enough rambling there, but that's helpful. So key is if you see the standard deviation, the volatility for this particular pair is higher than the group, usually chances are I would not take it. Also the volume, if it's less than the group volume, I will also be able to say actually it's higher, but chances are if it's less, it will have higher potential to have a down move. Okay, the other thing is the Fibonacci golden range. It's not in value from a historical standpoint, so it's another way of saying it might be overpriced. So another reason not to take a trade. But there's all these factors I can use. Now, things when it comes to the cross signals, I'm always looking for, are there too many? Here it looks pretty clean. We had a buy signal here, but no taker for the sell because it's so tight, these averages. Again, we have a strong downward trend compared to XRP. So maybe that might not be a good one to take on. Again, historically, the Fibonacci's are way too tight. Might not be worth taking on. When you look at the returns, there's too many negative ones. I wouldn't do that. But the interesting thing is not as wide-ranging daily returns. So the moves and the swings each day are not as extreme as XRP. Again, here we have a wedge potentially forming. Nothing yet, but you can see it consolidates and then just comes back on the lower and higher trend line. That's been clobbered down so far down for the last 30 days, I believe. Yeah, it's just not a go nowhere situation historically right now. See here the EMI, the long-term average is below. Here again, the Bollinger Can work on this time frame on a 6-month. So it kind of works. Here we don't know, but it should maybe pop up. But again, that's why we're looking at the RSI. There's no RSI move. So if there's not enough buyers and sellers, the RSI is not moving. There might be some short-term blips, but I don't think it's not enough to take on a position, to be honest, the way it's looking. It's pretty flat. Again, this is a 90-day. As you can see here, it's dropped off. That's probably due to the fact that it's tightened up so much that the buyers have given up and the sellers just clobbered it down. As you can see here, the RSI has dropped off, so there's not enough buyers in the market to support that upswing. So that's what's happening here. It's just that the buyers have given up on this pair. And you can kind of clearly see that kind of in the Bollinger, I guess. But there's other, you can see that alone in the averages here as they tighten up. Okay. So you can clearly see on a more zoom level on a 30-day look back, negative volume. It was building up, and then just clearly it just dropped off. Boom, boom, boom. Our momentum's down. Not good. Sia coin has been good about a week ago. So again, let's compare. So here's a nice thing about Sia coin. Standard deviation is 0.04. What was the group average for this? When you look at Sia coin for the group, it's 0.06. So Sia coin is not as volatile as the other two. So this one makes it a really good candidate to buy into, and hopefully I'll show you that here. So again, it's not in the optimal time to buy. The volume looks pretty strong, and there's probably meaning just those two conditions right there may mean it's a buying opportunity. You can clearly see that there's some nice upward movement earlier in October, about a week ago, but it's dropped off. And again, it's downtrend, but usually when you're above trend, these are buying opportunities. It can be at a high level. Again, the Fibonacci's are way too tight. Here's the interesting thing. More negative returns, as you can see here, a long term. But if you look at this chart here, this is good. This right here, because the trend, the buying action for the last few days is higher. The downtrend, that may be a sign of something here. Again, you can see here on the Fibonacci and trend below the golden zone, but the wedge here is moving up and it's broken past that lower trend. But if it went 1, 2, 3, but it broke trend, but sometimes it can be like this. You go. It'll be 1, 2, and if that price held, and we're at 1, 2, well, not really, but if we had 2, 3, that third on the uptrend, that's a good classic entry, but it didn't happen because it broke trend here on this wedge thing. Okay, so you can see here earlier how Sia coin has just been clobbered so badly. People want to buy this thing. And early in October they did. You can see by the volume, the RSI, but it didn't get into that overbought, but it did hit that 70 range and people sold off on that. And again, we have the same classic, not enough buyers in the market. Not enough buyers in the market below the long-term trend of 200. And you can clearly see that here, where somewhat on the 30-day here, nice momentum. Then you can start seeing some candles. Now the candles, are they reliable or not? Hopefully I'll show up another report to show you ways to confirm the theory, because we don't have them here. But nice volume up, hits a certain level, and it goes into this overbought condition and just tapers off. Not enough buyers come in the market, so the momentum dries up. Let me see if there is another report I can use. So again, if we just use this line right here in the search, you can probably see another one. Okay, let's see them all. Okay, so we have here October 11th. This is supposed to be generated every 3 hours. So we have another one, October 5th. Let's check out that one and see if we can see some classic other charts that I haven't shown yet. And these are the ones that I use. So we have here, so we have an extreme example of shorts. So I don't think that was a time period where it's very negative. I can tell. So let's go back to search results. Let's see if there's any other periods that look good. I'm looking for my automated trading, October 5th, October 3rd, October 3rd. Let's see if that has one. Okay. Yes, so there's more longs in here. So let's check out this one. Okay. So as I said, we have two pairs. Nothing really changes in this. So you have ICX, WAN, Ethereum. Let's see if we have any candles. No candles reported. Let's see if there's any shoulder reported. No, or any harmonic at all. Man. Let's see here. This one's a big one. Let me just find one. Go back, way back when. So we have the 3rd, the 2nd. I'm just randomly picking one. All right, so I don't want to. Okay, so this one. So we have two documents here. One based on trend. We have one based on volume. We should be in one of these documents. We should be able to find harmonics. Okay, so let's see. We have 5 pairs. Everything stays the same. Okay, let's see here. What do we got? All right, pair selection. Because it's really the harmonics and the head and shoulders that are very classic to find, to make it more convicting. Huh. How odd. Let's see if I can find harmonic. No harmonic. Candle? This is unbelievable. Okay, head. Interesting. Okay, so let me go into one last chance here. This one should have them. It's a big file. 2 meg is big. That's how big it is. It takes a while. It's 210 pages. So you can see here, this is a very positive market. Everything stays the same. Wow. Candle, or what's the other one? Head. Interesting. Okay, so I'm gonna have to X-nay that. But if I find them, could be a bug. I might not have included them. But anyways, those are standard reports for now. But you can get some really interesting data out of that. Hopefully this will help you out. Talk to you later.